Hello, family, welcome to Timeless Tales. If this is your first time watching, please consider subscribing to reach out to more people who enjoy this type of stories, and if you are a returning subscriber, I really appreciate you. Your support means a lot to our community as we grow. Sit back as we dive into the full story. Amanda lived a simple life in a small village. Her days were spent managing a small restaurant at the heart of the village, which she had inherited from her late mother. It wasn't much, just a few wooden tables, some mismatched chairs, and a worn-out sign above the door that read, Amanda's Kitchen. The restaurant was barely surviving, with only a handful of customers trickling in each day. Despite her struggles, Amanda carried a warm smile and a kind heart. She believed that kindness was a gift everyone could afford to give, even when times were tough. Her 7-year-old daughter, Clara, was the light of her life. Together, they made the best of what little they had. One sunny morning, Amanda balanced a basket of fresh vegetables on her hip as she walked to her restaurant. Clara skipped alongside her, humming a cheerful tune. The village streets were unusually quiet, save for the rustling leaves and the occasional bark of a stray dog. As they approached a bend in the road, Amanda noticed a man sitting on the ground. His clothes were tattered, his hair matted, and his hands stretched out in silent pleas. His face was smeared with dirt, and his eyes, though weary, held a flicker of something Amanda couldn't quite place. "Mom, look," Clara whispered, tugging at Amanda's skirt. "There's a man over there." Amanda paused, her heart aching at the sight. Several villagers passed the man without a second glance. A few whispered among themselves, their expressions a mix of pity and suspicion. "Stay here, Clara," Amanda said softly, placing her basket down. She walked over to the man who was seated at the roadside and crouched beside him. "Are you all right?" she asked gently. The man looked up, his voice hoarse. I'm hungry. I haven't eaten in many days." Amanda's brows furrowed. "Why are you sitting here? Do you have somewhere to go now?" The man shook his head. "No home. No family. Just, this road is my home." Amanda glanced at Clara slowly, who was watching curiously, and then back at the man. She hesitated for only a moment before standing up and holding out her hand. "Come with me," she said. "I'll give you something to eat since you are hungry." The man blinked in surprise. "Why would you help me? You don't even know me that well." Amanda smiled faintly. "Because you're hungry, and I can help. That's reason enough." After a moment's hesitation, the man reached for her hand. Amanda helped him to his feet and gestured for Clara to follow them. "Mom, are you sure about this?" Clara whispered as they walked. "What if he's a dangerous man?" Amanda gave her daughter a reassuring look. "We should always try to see the good in people, Clara. Everyone deserves a little kindness and love." When they reached the restaurant, Amanda led the man to a table at the corner of the restaurant. Clara fetched a glass of cold water, her curious eyes never leaving their guest. "What's your name?" Amanda asked as she busied herself in the kitchen. "Zulu," the man replied, his voice low and exhausted. "Well, Zulu, you're in luck. I make the best rice and beans in the village," Amanda said, her tone light. Zulu offered a faint smile, though his expression remained guarded. As Amanda prepared the meal, Clara couldn't help but pepper Zulu with questions. "Where are you from? Why don't you have a home? How did you get here?" "Clara," Amanda called from the kitchen, "let's not overwhelm our guest." "It's okay," Zulu said, his voice soft. He glanced at Clara and answered her questions vaguely, giving just enough to satisfy her curiosity without revealing much about himself. When Amanda placed the steaming plate of food in front of him, Zulu hesitated before taking his first bite. Once he started eating, he didn't stop until the plate was clean. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I don't know how to repay you." Amanda sat across from him, resting her chin on her hand. "You don't have to. Just pay it forward someday when you can. Zulu nodded, though his expression remained conflicted. As the day went on, Amanda noticed that Zulu was quiet but observant. He seemed to take in everything, the way she interacted with customers, the way Clara giggled as she played with a stray cat outside, the way Amanda's smile never wavered, even when the restaurant was empty. "You work hard," Zulu remarked suddenly. Amanda glanced up from where she was wiping a table. "Someone has to. It's just me and Clara." "Where's her father?" Zulu asked, then immediately looked apologetic. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked." "It's all right," Amanda said with a shrug. "He left when Clara was a baby. It's been the two of us ever since." Zulu nodded slowly, his gaze dropping to the table. "You're strong. Not many people would take in a stranger like me, let alone raise a child on their own." Amanda laughed lightly. "Strength doesn't always feel like strength when you're living it. You just do what you have to do." As the sun began to set, Amanda noticed Zulu looking uneasy. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I don't want to impose," he said. "I should leave." "Leave?" Amanda raised an eyebrow. "Where will you go?" "Stay here tonight. I'll make up a bed for you." Zulu looked at her, something unreadable in his eyes. "You're too kind, Amanda." "Kindness doesn't cost anything," she replied with a smile. That evening, as Amanda was tidying up the restaurant, Clara came running to her, holding a small pouch in her hands. "Look, Mama. I found this under one of the tables," she said excitedly to the mum. Amanda took the pouch and opened it. Inside were several gold coins, more money than Amanda had seen in many years. She frowned, puzzled at the gold coins. "Did you see anyone drop this?" she asked. Clara shook her head. "No. It was just there under one of the tables." Amanda walked over to Zulu, who was sitting quietly in the corner. "Zulu, is this yours?" she asked, holding up the pouch in her hands. Zulu's eyes widened slightly, but he quickly shook his head. "No. I've never seen it before." Amanda studied him for a moment, then sighed. "Well, whoever left it must have meant for it to be found. I'll keep it safe until we figure out what to do with it." Zulu nodded, but Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story that had just started. Late that night, Zulu lay on the makeshift bed Amanda had prepared for him, staring at the ceiling. His heart was heavy with guilt. He wasn't who Amanda thought he was. He wasn't just a homeless man, he was Prince Zulu, the eldest son of King Nkemu of Nkemu. For months, Zulu had been traveling in disguise, tired of the superficiality of palace life. He wanted to see the real world, to find people who were genuine and kind. He had tested countless strangers, but none had shown him the compassion that Amanda had. But now, he was conflicted. He hadn't expected to meet someone like her, someone who gave so selflessly despite having so little. And the gold coins. He had deliberately left them as a test. He wanted to see if Amanda would keep them for herself or try to return them. Her honesty had only deepened his admiration for her. Zulu turned over, his mind racing. He knew he couldn't stay much longer without revealing the truth. But how would Amanda react when she learned who he really was? Would she feel betrayed? Or would she understand? As sleep finally overtook him, Zulu decided that he would wait just a little longer. For now, he wanted to bask in the warmth of Amanda's kindness, even if it was built on a lie. The next morning, Amanda found Zulu sitting on the front steps of her small restaurant, watching the sunrise. He seemed deep in thought, his brows furrowed and his hands clasped tightly in his lap. "Good morning," Amanda said cheerfully as she stepped outside, carrying a tray with 2 cups of tea. "You're up early." Zulu turned, startled, and managed a small smile. "I'm used to waking up with the sun. Old habits, I guess." Amanda handed him a cup and sat down beside him. The warmth of the tea wafted into the crisp morning air. "I hope you slept well," she said. "Better than I have in years," Zulu admitted, staring into the horizon. Amanda sipped her tea in silence for a moment, then glanced at him. "You've been through a lot, haven't you?" Zulu nodded slowly, his expression guarded. "More than I'd like to remember." Amanda hesitated, then placed a comforting hand on his arm. "You don't have to tell me if you're not ready. But if you ever want to talk, I'm here." Zulu's lips twitched into a faint smile. "Thank you, Amanda. You're different from anyone I've ever met." Amanda laughed lightly. "Different good or different bad?" "Different good," Zulu said, his tone sincere. Their conversation was interrupted by Clara, who came bounding out of the house with her usual energy. "Mama, I'm hungry. Are we opening the restaurant soon?" "Of course, sweetheart," Amanda said, standing up and ruffling Clara's hair. "Zulu, will you join us for breakfast?" "I'd like that," Zulu replied, standing as well. As they worked together to prepare the restaurant for the day, Amanda noticed that Zulu was unusually quiet. She suspected he had something on his mind, but she didn't press him. Later that day, Zulu approached Amanda as she was sweeping the floor. "I need to leave," he said, his voice heavy with reluctance. Amanda stopped mid-sweep and looked at him, surprised. "Leave? Where will you go?" "Back to where I came from," Zulu said, choosing his words carefully. Amanda frowned. "Are you sure you're ready? You've barely had time to rest." "I don't want to overstay my welcome," Zulu said, though his tone betrayed his hesitation. "You've done more for me than I deserve." "Nonsense," Amanda said firmly. "But if you're sure, I won't stop you. At least let me give you some money for the journey." Zulu's eyes widened. "Amanda, you don't have to." "I insist," Amanda interrupted, reaching for the small pouch of coins she had found the day before. "Take this. It'll help you get where you need to go." Zulu hesitated, then reluctantly accepted the pouch. "Thank you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "I'll never forget your kindness." Amanda smiled. "Just promise me one thing." "What's that?" "Take care of yourself." Zulu nodded, his heart heavy with guilt. He wished he could tell her the truth about who he was, but he couldn't bring himself to do it. Not yet. A week passed, and life at the restaurant returned to its usual quiet rhythm. Amanda missed Zulu's presence more than she expected, but she didn't dwell on it. She had Clara to care for and a restaurant to run. One afternoon, as Amanda was preparing lunch, a commotion outside caught her attention. The sound of car engines filled the air, followed by hushed whispers from the villagers. Amanda stepped outside, wiping her hands on her apron, and froze in shock. A convoy of luxurious cars had pulled up in front of her restaurant, their polished exteriors gleaming in the sunlight. Curious villagers gathered around, whispering among themselves. "Who are they?" someone murmured. "Maybe they're lost," another suggested. Amanda's heart raced as the door of the lead car opened, and a man stepped out. He was dressed in an elegant suit, his posture commanding and regal. Amanda stared, her mouth falling open. It was Zulu, but he looked completely different. "Zulu?" she whispered, unable to believe her eyes. Zulu smiled and walked toward her. "Hello, Amanda." Amanda's mind raced with questions. What is this? Who are you?" Zulu took a deep breath. "Amanda, there's something I need to tell you. But first, will you come with me?" Amanda hesitated, her gaze flickering to the convoy of cars. "Where are you taking me?" "I promise you'll be safe," Zulu said. "Please trust me." Amanda glanced at Clara, who had appeared at her side, clutching her hand. "Can Clara come too?" Amanda asked. "Of course," Zulu said. Reluctantly, Amanda and Clara climbed into one of the cars. The villagers watched in stunned silence as the convoy drove away. After a long drive, the cars pulled up to a grand palace surrounded by lush gardens and towering gates. Amanda stared in awe as they stepped out of the car. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "This is my home," Zulu said, gesturing toward the palace. Amanda's eyes widened. "Your home? Zulu, what's going on?" Zulu turned to face her, his expression serious. "Amanda, I haven't been completely honest with you. My real name is Prince Zulu. I'm the eldest son of King Nkemu of Nkemu." Amanda's knees felt weak. She grabbed Clara's hand for support. "You're a prince?" Zulu nodded. "I left the palace in disguise to see the world and find people who were truly kind and genuine. That's how I ended up in your village. I pretended to be a beggar to see how people would treat me." Amanda's mind reeled. "So, everything was a lie?" "No," Zulu said quickly. "The things I told you about being hungry and tired, that was all true. And your kindness. Amanda, you treated me like a human being when everyone else turned their back. That wasn't part of the plan. That was real." Before Amanda could respond, the doors of the palace opened, and a tall, regal man stepped out. It was King Nkemu, his presence commanding and authoritative. "You must be Amanda," the king said, his voice warm. "My son has told me everything about you." Amanda curtsied instinctively, unsure of what else to do. "Your Majesty, I didn't know." The king raised a hand, silencing her. "You have nothing to apologize for. In fact, I owe you a debt of gratitude. You showed my son kindness and compassion when he needed it most. For that, I am forever in your debt." Amanda felt tears well up in her eyes. "I was just doing what anyone should do." The king smiled. "Unfortunately, not everyone would have done what you did. You have a rare heart, Amanda." After the meeting with the king, Amanda and Clara were invited to stay at the palace for a few days. Amanda marveled at the luxury and splendor around her, but she couldn't help feeling out of place. On the third day, King Nkemu called Amanda to his private study. "I understand you run a small restaurant," he said. "Yes, Your Majesty," Amanda replied. "It's more than a restaurant now," the king said with a smile. "As a token of my gratitude, I've arranged for your restaurant to be expanded and advertised throughout the kingdom. You'll have more customers than you'll know what to do with." Amanda's jaw dropped. "Your Majesty, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll accept," the king said. "And continue to do what you do best, help others." Tears streamed down Amanda's face as she nodded. "Thank you. I don't know how to repay you." "You've already repaid me," the king said. "By helping my son." As Amanda prepared to return to her village, Zulu pulled her aside. "I owe you an apology," he said. "For what?" Amanda asked. "For not telling you the truth sooner," Zulu said. "I didn't mean to deceive you. I didn't know how to tell you." Amanda studied him for a moment, then smiled. "I forgive you, Zulu. But next time, maybe try being honest from the start." Zulu chuckled, relief washing over him. "I'll remember that." As the convoy drove Amanda and Clara back to their village, Amanda couldn't help but wonder what the future held. Little did she know, her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. Back in the village, Amanda's life began to change almost immediately. Within a week of her return, construction crews arrived to expand her humble restaurant. The once modest, Amanda's kitchen, was transformed into a beautiful establishment with polished wooden floors, colorful decor, and enough seating for dozens of customers. The king's influence ensured that Amanda's restaurant was advertised throughout the kingdom, and soon, people from far and wide came to taste her food. Clara, ever the curious child, couldn't stop beaming with pride. "Mama, Look how many people are here today, she exclaimed, watching the bustling crowd. Amanda smiled as she kneaded dough in the kitchen. It's more than I ever dreamed of, Clara. But it's not just because of the restaurant, it's because of the people who believe in us. As days turned into weeks, Amanda's restaurant became the heart of the village. Locals and travelers alike flocked to Amanda's kitchen, not only for the delicious meals but also for the warmth and kindness that seemed to flow through every corner of the place. One sunny afternoon, as Amanda was busy serving customers, the sound of carriages rolling into the village caught everyone's attention. Amanda looked up, her heart skipping a beat as she recognized the convoy of luxurious cars. "It's Prince Zulu!" Clara shouted, dropping her napkin and running toward the door. Amanda wiped her hands on her apron, her pulse quickening. She stepped outside just as Zulu emerged from one of the cars, looking as regal as ever in his tailored suit. His smile was warm and genuine, but Amanda noticed a hint of nervousness in his eyes. "Zulu," Amanda said, her voice carrying a mix of surprise and joy. "I wasn't expecting you." "I couldn't stay away," Zulu said, stepping closer. "I had to see how you were doing." "Well, as you can see, the restaurant is busier than ever," Amanda said with a laugh. Zulu glanced around, nodding in approval. "It's more than a restaurant now. It's a home, a place where people feel welcome." Amanda felt her cheeks warm at his words. "Thank you. But it wouldn't have been possible without your father's help." Zulu shook his head. "This was all you, Amanda. You had the heart and the determination to make it happen. My father and I only gave you the opportunity, you did the rest." Amanda's gaze softened, and for a moment, they stood in silence, the hum of the bustling restaurant fading into the background. As the days passed, Zulu became a regular visitor at the restaurant. He spent hours talking with Amanda and playing with Clara, who adored him. The villagers, initially wary of Zulu's royal status, soon warmed to him. His down-to-earth nature and genuine interest in their lives won them over. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Zulu and Amanda sat on the restaurant's porch, watching the last of the customers leave. Clara had fallen asleep on a nearby bench, clutching her favorite doll. "Thank you for everything," Amanda said softly, breaking the comfortable silence. "For what?" Zulu asked, his tone playful. "For believing in me," Amanda replied. "For seeing something in me that I didn't even see in myself." Zulu turned to face her, his expression serious. "Amanda, I didn't just believe in you, I admired you. You showed me what true kindness looks like, and that changed me. You changed me." Amanda's heart raced at his words, but before she could respond, a sudden commotion erupted in the distance. A group of villagers came running toward the restaurant, their faces pale with fear. "What's wrong?" Amanda asked, standing up. "There's a group of thieves in the village," one of the men shouted. "They're looting houses and stealing livestock." Zulu's expression darkened. "Stay here," he said firmly. "Wait," Amanda said, grabbing his arm. "You can't face them alone." "I won't be alone," Zulu assured her. "My guards are with me. But I need to make sure the village is safe." Before Amanda could protest, Zulu signaled to his guards, and they disappeared into the night. Hours passed, and the village buzzed with tension. Amanda paced the porch, her mind racing with worry. Clara, now awake, clung to her mother's hand. "Mama, will Zulu be okay?" Clara asked, her voice trembling. Amanda knelt down and hugged her daughter tightly. "He'll be fine, sweetheart. He's brave, and he knows what he's doing." But Amanda's reassurance did little to calm her own fears. The thought of Zulu facing danger made her chest tighten. Finally, just before dawn, the convoy of cars returned. Zulu stepped out, his clothes slightly disheveled but his expression triumphant. "The thieves have been caught," he announced, his voice firm but tired. "The village is safe." A collective cheer erupted from the gathered villagers. Amanda rushed forward, relief flooding her as she threw her arms around Zulu. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice breaking. Zulu pulled back slightly, looking into her eyes. "You don't have to thank me. This village is your home, and that makes it my home too." As the weeks turned into months, Amanda and Zulu grew closer. Their bond deepened, built on mutual respect and admiration. Clara often teased them, saying, "Mama, when will Zulu move in with us?" Amanda would laugh and brush off the comment, but deep down, she couldn't deny her feelings for him. One evening, as they walked along the riverbank outside the village, Zulu stopped suddenly. "Amanda," he said, his tone serious. "Yes," she replied, turning to face him. "There's something I need to ask you," Zulu said, taking her hands in his. Amanda's heart skipped a beat. "What is it?" Zulu took a deep breath. "You've already changed my life in ways I can't even begin to explain. I can't imagine a future without you and Clara. Will you marry me?" Amanda's eyes widened in shock. "Zulu, Before you answer," Zulu said quickly, "I want you to know that I don't expect you to leave your village or your restaurant. We'll figure everything out together. All I ask is that you let me be a part of your life." Tears filled Amanda's eyes as she smiled. "Yes, Zulu. I'll marry you." Their wedding was a grand celebration that brought together the entire village and the royal family. Clara served as the flower girl, beaming with pride as she walked down the aisle. Amanda, dressed in a simple yet elegant gown, felt like she was living a dream. Zulu, standing at the altar in his royal attire, couldn't take his eyes off her. As they exchanged vows, the crowd erupted in cheers, celebrating not just the union of two people but the merging of two worlds. In the years that followed, Amanda and Zulu built a life filled with love, laughter, and purpose. Together, they expanded the restaurant into a thriving business that employed many villagers. Clara grew up surrounded by warmth and happiness, her future brighter than Amanda had ever imagined. The villagers often spoke of Amanda's journey, marveling at how a single act of kindness had transformed her life. One evening, as Amanda and Zulu sat on the porch of their home, watching the sunset, Amanda leaned against him and said, "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we hadn't met?" Zulu smiled, wrapping his arm around her. "I don't need to wonder. Fate brought us together for a reason. And I wouldn't change a thing." As the stars filled the night sky, Amanda felt a deep sense of gratitude. Her journey had been anything but easy, but it had led her to a life she never could have dreamed of, a life built on kindness, courage, and love. Moral of the story: kindness has the power to change lives in ways we can't always foresee. A simple act of compassion can set off a chain of events that lead to incredible blessings. Never underestimate the impact of a good heart.